What is going on? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to talk to you about Rivian. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what is really prompting this bloodbath and where it might be going from here. Before I get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. Starting off, Rivian is down 8.81%. 490 the low, 1645 the high. Massive amount of volatility. So I want to break it down on what's really happening. But 24.1 million shares have been traded, 54.9 is the average. As you can kind of see, these are some of the transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000, which is kind of chump change in comparison to the last several trading days. So this is one thing that I have brought up on my Rivian videos, and plus aside from that, I bring that up almost every video. For those of you that watch my channel, I always like to analyze where the volume comes from. It might seem minuscule and I don't really kind of pay so much attention to it, but I bring up whether it's algorithmic trading, shorts, institutions, and as of late, over those last roughly couple of weeks, there has been a very big notable increase in algorithmic trading. So do you guys know what happens when that gets turned off? No support, no kind of false pumping up anymore, and you get massive amount of volatility. This is why across the board you are seeing a bloodbath of red. And what is really prompting this negativity today is initial jobless claims came in a little bit hotter, minor above the forecast, so 249 versus 236,000. And so all it took was one analyst to say, hey, look, initial jobless claims is a little bit higher. Maybe this is something that we need to worry about. And aside from that, based on Powell's his speech yesterday, the Feds are going to be too slow to the game. They should have already started to cut rates. And so that is prompting so much fear, the fact that now Feds are going to be too slow to the game. And even right here, I think this is also very telling, because right now this is for the September 18th meeting. It does indicate a 81.5% likelihood of a 25 basis point cut, and then a 18.5% basis or a 50 basis point cut for that. And keep in mind, Powell said yesterday, just yesterday, which it was at roughly, I think, 10% at that stage. So he said yesterday that they're not even considering 50 basis points. So the market is pretty much saying, fuck you, you better have 50 basis points on the table. Market needs it, not necessarily just to curb inflation, but now to avoid a recession. I did bring this up in the past, and actually, sorry, pardon my French on swearing in the past, but one thing that I did bring up, Canada recently did cut rates a second time. But the only difference what happened with Canada is they started to cite it was because of to avoid a recession. So there's always a difference, right? There's a difference between whether you're cutting to combat against inflation or if you're doing it to avoid a recession. Right now, this is telling that you need to cut 50 basis points to avoid a recession and a pullback. So this is what is kind of causing all this fear. And like I said, kind of just that turning off of algorithmic trading. So not necessarily the best. As of late, there hasn't been all that much in news. So last news came out July the 17th. SEC filings, there was this right here. So a Form 4 on July the 30th, which it did signal this Jeff Baker right here, who is the CAO, did dispose of 104,000 shares. It does have a note right here. It looks like this was already, I guess, previously noted. But yeah, this is a interesting thing, because if we actually pop over to unusual whales, transaction code D, which isn't a common one that I see for a coding, it says sale to issuer. So hopefully they do add a little bit of context, because the CAO did dump 93.54% of their position. So once again, maybe some of you might know some additional context, and maybe this was previously stated during one time or another that I might have missed. So do you guys know much context about this and potentially why? But aside from that though, just they have their upcoming earnings to be the potential next big catalyst, if you want to consider that. So that is after hours on the 6th. Currently $1.20 is that earnings per share to be negative. 1.13 billion for revenue. Over the last 90 days, there has been 3 positive revisions and 13 negative. So that has gone down quite a lot since my last video. I think it was only at 9 negative revisions. So a lot more analysts kind of turning bearish for the most part. But one thing I do want to bring up is looking at future estimates. This is where you do see, aside from this recent or upcoming earnings, future year-over-year growth for earnings per share is definitely good. Of course, Rivian did cite in 2025, I think, profitability. Clearly, analysts are not in agreement with that, as you can kind of see it based on that. And then this is revenue. So very inconsistent and not really good growth. So you don't see substantial year-over-year growth up until probably September 2025, as you can kind of see right here. So it's not necessarily the best. The market does not really value stagnant companies. Not saying Rivian is stagnant by any means, but clearly they're kind of a lag in the market, whether it be linked to consumers or whatever else. But this definitely is something to keep in mind. Aside from all of that fun stuff, looking at shorts are returning 692,000 shares. So this is why I like to analyze this information, because by Rivian being very red, and if shorts kind of saw it as justified, they'd be doubling down, not returning some shares. So again, that's kind of what I see from this, but 16.17% of the free floats being shorted works out to be 114.54 million shares. Utilization 53.54, and then short score, so the higher the number, the higher the likelihood of a squeeze happening, is 70.81, and then cost to borrow is fairly low at 0.54%. And even over this last little bit, shorts have been returning quite a lot, all in all. And moving on, I'll go over to IBKR. So this is the Elliott Wave technical, so it does have a pivot point of 1430. So as long as Rivian is above that, then this is where it is still anticipated to get between that $21 range. So very optimistic. On the flip side, if it does break below that pivot point, then it is anticipated to kind of retest that $10 range. So a lot of volatility is anticipated in the foreseeable future. Latest analyst ratings, not all that much. The last one was done 10 days ago, then 14, 15. I've already covered this in the previous video, so not really much new information as far as that goes. Latest Morningstar report does show the fair market value though for Rivian based on its assets being $17.21. So let me know your thoughts. On a side note, if you're looking for a lot of good free compiled information such as analyst ratings, ownership, analyst forecast, take a look at IBKR for all of this to be completely free. Link to that is in the description below and also the comments. Moving on to some other data, looking at options though. So right now a lot of money is getting into Rivian through options. So 6.14 million in calls, 4.15 million in puts. 44% of all the options being done so far are optimistic and bullish. And right here, so based on the call options that are being purchased, you do see a consensus for it to be above 1650, so not that optimistic. And then on the put side, you do see a consensus for it to be sub $15, so kind of where it is right now. So in my opinion, based on this options, it does also kind of signal that today was more of an overreaction, but we'll just have to wait and see. Right now with it at $14.95, it is trading between this S1 and the pivot. So 1407 is going to be a strong support, and then 1619 will be the next strong resistance / target. So kind of just take note of both. And today it is transitioning from the higher to the lower percentile of the Bollinger Band, still above a lot of the key pivotal moving averages. Stochastic, you do see it as oversold, and number of retail investors are saying adios, I'm out, and just selling the hell out ever since it looks like the 12th. So let me know your thoughts on Rivian. I know I did cover quite a lot in this video. I like to give you guys a lot of information. You guys do your own due diligence. Are you buying today? Are you buying the dip? Are you selling? What do you guys think about their upcoming earnings? Do you think that there is going to be some positives from it, or do you think it is going to be more overwhelmingly negative? A lot of people seem to be thinking it's going to be very negative, potentially pushing it back again to that $10 range. So we'll just have to wait and see. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And then one final thing, take advantage of this promo. It's been extended up until the end of August. So simply sign up for a new account, throw $100 at it, and they give you 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. Link to that is in the description below and also the comments. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.